Good morning and welcome back to the Scottish Parliament. This morning we begin with culture and education, and we will enjoy a series of presentations before adjourning for lunch. I would like to invite our first keynote speaker, Deirdre Quarnstrom, to speak. Deirdre is the Vice President of Education for Microsoft Corporation, and prior to her role at Microsoft, Deirdre was a pioneer of the use of the video game Minecraft as part of the education of millions of students and their teachers across the world. Deirdre.
Officer. Good. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So as I was preparing to speak to you, I was reminded of a conversation with a colleague. We were talking about the potential of the video game Minecraft and how we should set our goals and our aspiration. And he said something which I admit I responded to with more skepticism than curiosity. But what he said was, what if we set our goal that every country in the world has a minister of Minecraft? Now, what does that even mean? I thought it was kind of silly, a little bit absurd. But we talked more about it and really looked at and thought about the places where Minecraft has significance and relevance. So is it possible, could a video game have that kind of cultural and societal relevance and significance to warrant that sort of lofty aspiration? I should probably back up and talk a little bit about what Minecraft is. Most of you, I imagine some of you in the room have played Minecraft. Everyone has certainly heard of or seen it or had people in your families that have spent a lot of time. At the very sort of simplest sense, Minecraft is about mining and crafting, as the name suggests. It's about breaking and placing blocks, about building things. It can be about surviving the night. It's also a place where hundreds of millions of people have come together. Over 100 million players a month come together in Minecraft. It's the source of billions of hours of YouTube content. So in terms of societal relevance, it's there. The game's been around for over 10 years. What we've actually seen that's been really interesting is how the game is used outside of the traditional entertainment sphere. One of the very first places that Minecraft was used outside of gaming and entertainment was in education. And that was inspired and really started very grassroots by educators. There were teachers who played Minecraft very early and saw the potential for this open world to be a platform for teaching and learning, to be a place for creative exploration. Today, what has become Minecraft Education Edition is used by millions of educators and students around the world, across all grade levels, across all subjects in the curriculum, from very early learners using Minecraft to learn about how to move around in virtual spaces, all the way up through universities doing AI research using Minecraft as the model for that. In Wales, over 350,000 students have access to Minecraft. One of the sort of showcase projects as they were rolling that out was students visited a local castle, and they came back to the classroom and they built that in Minecraft. Now, it seems like a simple exercise. The students were having fun. They thought they were building, but they had also done some measurements, and so they were working with scale and bringing math into it. They were bringing a history element. They were thinking about how tall to make those castle walls and why they needed to be that height. What were they trying to keep in? What were they trying to keep out? They were considering how much farmland they needed to support the community. So in this way, by interacting in this virtual environment, they were very much putting themselves in a first person, in a historical context or in a creative context, thinking much more deeply about the subject. One of the sort of most interesting prompts I've heard with a teacher using Minecraft is to create the home for a character in a piece of literature. And so if you think about that, what would that person's home look like? What would the setting be? And Minecraft provides this very open, accessible canvas to be able to do that, which inspires often deeper thinking in our students and young people than some of the traditional formats for teaching and learning. In New Zealand, an artist and creator challenged himself with thinking about ways to inspire an appreciation for Māori culture and language with young people. He ultimately created a Minecraft world that had word games and representations of traditional housing and textile patterns in a Minecraft world. That's now available to all students across New Zealand and in fact all students around the world. And so again, in that way, the students are able to interact and play. They're learning the language through the games in Minecraft. They're also able, in a way that's somewhat unique to Minecraft, to be able to extend that experience and build on it. So they might take this sort of example or representation of a traditional dwelling and customize it to represent their family and their own personal heritage. They can take a waka or a boat out and explore in the world that's been created for them, and then they can modify that and make it their own. So there's really interesting ways to take core curriculum and customize it and personalize it, both to be locally relevant, but also personally and individually relevant. This also allows the students to apply their strengths. And so you might have one student in that example in Wales who's really interested in the math or architecture element. Another one might be interested in design and really deeply consider what kind of materials in this virtual Minecraft world might best represent the natural elements of the landscape around where they live. Beyond education, sort of traditional subject matter, we find that some of the skills like digital citizenship, considering bullying and online safety, well-being, mental health, social emotional learning, all of these subjects actually are also very much represented in some of the traditional content that's covered. But also directly, we have something that emerged from a hackathon. At tech companies, we do these hackathons periodically to sort of inspire creation among our technical leaders. And someone was interested in the topic of mental health and thinking about ways that she could engage with people around video games. And so they created a world set in a fantasy environment called the Mindful Night, and that's night with a K. And with that, the players go through and explore and do a series of quests. And one of them is an underwater exploration, and there's a short writing exercise. And in that, it really becomes a meditation. There's another breathing exercise that sort of has some fun interactions in the game. So in this way, we're taking something that was designed as a video game purely for entertainment, and we're extending that into other areas like creativity, mental health, social emotional well-being. Beyond education, I've done work the last several years with an organization called the Block by Block Foundation. And this is, I think, somewhat unique in the gaming world. It's a partnership between Mojang Studios, which is the game studio that created Minecraft, Microsoft, and UN Habitat, where we use Minecraft as a participatory tool for redesigning and developing urban environments in some of the most disadvantaged communities in the world. We've done over 100 projects. And the way that works is we identify projects where people are looking to redevelop public spaces. It may be some city-owned property that's been abandoned. Often what happens, it becomes overgrown, it collects garbage, and just isn't well used. And so we work with them by creating the space. So if we were going to do a project together, we might create this debating chamber in Minecraft and build it, and then invite the people who use the space to come in and actually modify it and change it in the game. They're operating in the video game in this virtual 3D space in the first person. So they're sort of walking around as if they were in it, and it creates this incredibly immersive environment. It's also, we've found, much more accessible than traditional public input processes that might use renderings or 2D drawings. So they're able to go into the space. We would come in and we might say, okay, I'd like to change the lighting. I'd like to move this entrance. We need to make this space more accessible for people with disabilities. What we often find in the projects we do is lighting is a big concern for safety. We've made sure in designing this process to make it inclusive, more inclusive than traditional public participation processes, which are typically the people in authority positions. And so we include young people, and by having a video game, that absolutely brings the young people in. We also make an effort to include the elderly, people with disabilities, and the people who live in the immediate area and use the spaces. We've done a space in Pristina, Kosovo, where students designed a skate park, and they created murals in the Minecraft world that are represented in the space. We've got a great video that followed up, and we were able to identify and find those students 5 years later and show them using the space. We've done work in Kakuma and Kalobeye and the informal settlements in northwestern Kenya, where typically when these settlements are created, there's space between sort of the dwellings and space to use, and as more people come, those become overwhelmed and there's less space to move around. And so with that, we brought together people with different languages, religions, cultures, And we're able to use this digital environment to make communication accessible. And with that created some central gathering spaces with designs that were inspired by some of the jewelry that the women created. It's been amazing. I visited so many of these sites, and it really is quite surprising to think about a video game used in this context. One of the other projects that has really started again with just a seed of an idea by someone who is really impacted by the situation of Syrian refugees coming into Scotland. It was a Scottish creator named Stephen Reed, and he was thinking about how could he sort of ease their experience. And so he created a journey, interviewed people, and created sort of a journey of a refugee family coming into Scotland and what that might be like. And with that, they were able to share that with their classmates and build empathy for what they were experiencing. Now, the Minecraft, clearly I have a lot of passion for this Minecraft work and have seen this used across education curriculum for social impact, for increasing equity and accessibility. All of this is extended by the work that we do with Microsoft and Microsoft technology. A lot of my work is really focused on tools for teacher and student collaboration with focus on increasing equity and accessibility through learning tools. So we have things like Reading Progress, which is a tool that encourages literacy. It was designed for early literacy, but we found it's actually been a wonderful tool for adult literacy and for second language learners. With that, you're able to select a paragraph and take what is traditionally a sort of face-to-face reading assessment and use the technology and use a trained AI to actually do those evaluations through a video recording. So the way it works is teacher would identify a passage, the students would get that on their computer screen, they would record themselves reading it, and then the AI would identify mispronunciations in their reading, their pacing, even the intonation, if they were pausing at appropriate places, and be able to give feedback to the learners. It's been really powerful in a couple of ways. One, it reduces the stigma. So for anyone who's had to stand and do face-to-face assessment, particularly if you're challenged in that area or if it's not your native language, it can be really intimidating. And so there's something about doing that through a video recording. It almost becomes gamified. And what we found is the students are actually practicing and re-recording themselves, where if it were that traditional assessment, they would be so happy to walk away from that. We've also found it's really empowering for educators to be able to support people who have different languages than their own, and so they're able to use the technology and the languages. There's other tools like live translation that are available to all of you that are in many Microsoft tools that again help, in that situation of refugees coming into a country, being able to create just an environment where people can communicate in the education space for communication with parents that might speak a different language. These live translation tools, things like Reading Progress, focus on literacy, have been incredibly helpful and empowering. Now, I will admit, it's not all seamless for anyone who's tried to join a Zoom call and present slides or a Teams call. When it works, it's amazing. And then there's those times that it takes 15 minutes to start the call. And someone asked me, yes, it does occasionally happen at Microsoft as well. So there are still challenges with the technology. We've asked, in particular, our educators to do so much these last 2 years during the pandemic to adapt to remote and hybrid learning. As we look ahead to the future, I will say hybrid learning is absolutely here to stay. I expect it to continue to evolve, but in many ways the technology has been so empowering and leveling the playing field. We have to figure out how to make it more accessible and available to all. So what are some of the things that you can do? I talked about the block by block program. We have a free toolkit that's available to anyone. And so if that's interesting to you, those resources are available, how to run that program and do that locally using Minecraft, some guidelines and tips for running workshops. We also have loads of free content for Minecraft Education Edition that's available to be used. One place that we could really use help is in artists and creators creating content, creating learning content that is diverse, that is locally, culturally relevant to people. And so looking at Minecraft, what sort of started as this game about mining and crafting, and considering it as an open canvas and a platform, an accessible, creative platform for bringing the wonderful content that you have, the expertise, the coaches, to students and learners around the world. So coming back to this idea of Minister of Minecraft, I don't know that I'm convinced. Through that exercise, we ended up landing on what seemed like a more achievable goal of building a better world through the power of play. It's something that continues to inspire the Minecraft team and their work, and really that community of hundreds of millions of players. I know that with tools like Minecraft that connect people around the world, encourage this human connection, with tools like Microsoft Learning Tools, Microsoft Teams for Education, that we can enable and inspire the next generations of artists, creators, innovators, and leaders. Thank you.